Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. We have a really good question here, and it involves alignment and the tow line and the aiming line. And this one comes to me from Bill Frazier, and Bill says, "Hi Serge, you just posted the fact that the toes are used to align your feet with a target line which the golfer has set up with mentally. Or he can physically do it by finding a spot in front, and then he mentally draws the lines on the ground. That spot being on a line to the aiming to the target for your aiming line. I have now jumped all over DJ's idea of opening up my left toes considerably more than my right ones. I think I heard you state once that one should really make sure the heels are perpendicular to the target line, not the toes. Which is the correct procedure?" Good question. Now, believe it or not, with as much as I read and I listen to other golfers and other teachers and watch PGA Tour events and hear them talking, I don't very often hear that you ever use your heels for your toe line. I did hear it once. I heard one on a lesson from a pro on a PGA Tour event this summer, where one of the pros recommended using your heels, but it wasn't me. And I can honestly say, Bill, without a doubt, you have never, ever, and never will ever hear me say that you look at your heels to check out your if you're perpendicular to if you set up perpendicular aiming line. And I'm going to show you why in a very good second here. I already have my alignment arrows down here, and this is the aiming line, and this will be the toe line. So when I stand in here and they're parallel left, I have found my spot over here, and I walk in, I make the H, which means I walk in, the ball will be, I'll put the ball over here, and hopefully it'll stay on this little circle here. And when I walk in from here, I always make what I call the H, and this is where the H comes in, and I'll carry this one with me. So when I stand here with my club and I make the H, I'm going to stand here, I'm going to rotate around 90 degrees, and when I come in at 90 degrees, I'm going to come in, and I'll go ahead and put this on the ground right now at 90 degrees so you can see what I'm talking about. It's flush up against the thing into the aiming arrow, so we know it's at 90 degrees because they're all straight lines here. I put my club down. My foot's right here. I put the club down. I aim it to my target. Then I come up to here, and then when I start my step, my stance, it's a two-step. One, the forward foot comes to the toe, flared already. It's flared out. And then this one comes up to the line. The problem to the toe line, again, line to line, they're both flared. Now, the key is here, is that you always, no matter when I flare, I keep the toe on the line, because when you swing and you do your bump and move inward, you're basically, as I call it, the knees are covering the toes. And so if you walked in with the feet perpendicular, straight to the line at 90 degrees, and if you just flared from your heels, and you flared one more than the other, you can, right here, this foot's about an inch and a quarter to inch and a half away. This toe is from the line, and this one's only about a little less than a half an inch. So technically my stance is now open. It's aimed over there. There's my toe line now. And so you have to keep the toes on the line. Now when we flare excessively, meaning if I'm really going to get a lot more openness, I think if you're starting to go past 45 degrees, you have to start experimenting where you still have balance in making the swing. All right. So I think if you, like, I can hit golf balls with the foot wide open, but I think that in that case, if I get it wide open, I have to keep it more. The foot has to come backwards a little bit from my hip, and I'm going to have to really concentrate now on making sure that I hit the ball and swing to my target, recoil and relax at my target. So I have to make sure I have a lot of very good target awareness. But let's talk about the heels. I'm standing here. I walk into my ball. Now, if I'm going to do my heels, and I have my feet flared, especially if I flare the forward one a little bit more, and I put this down on my heels, that is now touching my heels. I think it's obvious to see that that line is not perpendicular. But I can only, and but to me, I just can't find any rationality or if you want to go to the term common sense of, how can you check your heel line? My eyes are looking that way. They're in the front part of my body. They're not in the back part of my body. I mean, can I really, honestly, do an analysis like that to figure out that I'm parallel left? My feet would be parallel left. And invariably, if you, even if I have my feet perfectly square this way, like most people want you to have, right now, yeah, that line is pretty close to parallel. But again, how well can I see that checking out my heels? If I get rid of this line and all I'm trying to do is deal with that line, come on. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's functional and can be realistically done to check your alignment. So I think we have to deal with the toe line. Because it's in front of us, we can just look down and see it. And then from this position, I can actually look down and I can actually kind of run my club down the target line. Now, I've seen tons of people do this stuff and they check their club out. They kind of get it over their toe line and they look like that. And we know, unfortunately, many people still think that it's supposed to, your toe line's supposed to point at the target. Well, if your toe line is pointing at the target and your aiming line is pointing at the target, you can't have parallel lines. All right? Because the definition of parallel lines are two lines that they don't ever meet in the distance. So, to answer that question, Bill, the correct procedure is you check your toe line, not your I guess we could call it your heel line, because the heels, the line, if it's heels, is behind you, and I don't think we can relatively see it well because it's behind us. I mean, what you always heard people say, man, I wish I had two eyes behind my head so I could see forward and backwards at the same time. But since we're not given that system by God, all we have is two eyes looking forward. I think we have to use the toe lines. All right, so we wrapped in here a little bit of a lesson on walking into the ball, making the H, and why the toe line is important. And lastly, I think again, if you start really getting past about 45 degrees, I think that you can't keep the foot on the toe line because you'll be out of dynamic balance because the weight will be going forward and you'll be falling forward. So you have to find that point where you're balanced underneath your hips where you can still make the swing and stand up. So again, like anything else, we give you basic parameters. You need to take those parameters, take those messages and those points and find out exactly what works best for you, where you can make a good setup and make a dynamically balanced swing to a dynamically balanced finish. And when you can do that, you're in a pretty good position, and the result should be that you'll be hitting the ball more solid, straight, and longer. All right, so talking about the toe line versus the heel line, we're on the toe line. We check the toe line. And with that, this is the Surge signing off, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.